G'day camper. You're pretty new to camping, hey? Or is it even your first time? Either way, you want to make sure it's memorable for the right reasons. In this video, I'll go through my entire process for picking beautiful campsites like this, whether you want to rough it completely or you want a few amenities. So let's not stand here knitting socks for snakes. Here's what you'll need. A smartphone. Here's one I smashed earlier. A map book. I like the Camps Australia wide book, but we'll talk more about that in a moment. A wall map for home. Not essential, but very handy. And paper maps. Not always essential. The Camps book usually suffices, but these are really good for some extra detail. I recommend going area specific for your maps, like this Western Australia southwest corner. Especially for Western Australia, that's a big state. Maybe your home state's a lot smaller, but for Western Australia, it's just such a big area that the map won't pack enough detail. It's time for step one, get inspired. I feel like going camping, but where? Well, first consider your local weather. Yours might be different, but here's mine. In summer, we're heading coastal or southern forests. Anywhere inland is too hot. If I go too far north in summer, too hot. In winter, I might head north for the sun. But also, winter camping in the southern forests with a campfire is really nice. Now, if you're equipped only with a very basic camping kit, aim for fine weather only. Don't try and make your first camping experience sometime in winter. Now, I also consider insects. I know some of you might be thinking, oh, sissy camper, who cares about bugs? But they can be serious. This area here, shocking for ticks in the summer months. This area here, bees can be a problem in the warmer months.
As the sign says, please beware. Beware being the key word, which I love.
The Beekeeper Nature Reserve is right there. The bees will smell any moisture from your camp and in they come.
Shield armpits. Shield any fear that you have on your face. Any point of entry is a point of bees.
Insects can be a bit hard to get an idea of, but I'll cover some tricks on how you might find this out a little later in the video. So now you have an idea of what direction you want to head, it's time to look at the map for inspiration. How far do you want to go? Just overnighter close by, or do you mind doing a whole week of travel to get somewhere really special? This is where that big laminated wall map comes in handy. You can see the whole country or the whole state and get a good gauge on distance. And that can spark off an idea of where you might want to dive deeper, like, that's a place I'd really like to see, or I never knew that attraction was right there, let's try and camp here and check that out. Another one for inspiration is social media posts. If I see somebody post about a place I've never heard of or would love to see, I'll take a screenshot. I use OneNote to organise it all, but you might just keep it in a folder on your phone. Then when you feel like camping, just go and flick through that inspiration again and jog the memory. If you're looking for some paper maps, I'd say in Australia, HEMA maps are the best. I think they maybe do them in the USA as well. I'll pop a link down below in the description. And right now we're on to step 2. Research. With an idea of the direction and area you want to head, it's time to see what's available. And for that, we need more detail. For me, 80% of the time, the Camps Australia wide book does the job. Now, of course, it's only applicable if you're in Australia. It will show you free camps, paid camps, station stays, caravan parks, local attractions, and then has maps there as well. The maps show major and minor roads and gravel roads, but don't go all the way into detail on four-wheel drive tracks and that sort of thing. There's 2 versions of the book. This is the bigger A3 version, which has the pictures. The smaller version doesn't have the pictures. So once you've pointed to a number on the map where there's a campsite marked, you can open it up and see pictures and a bit more detail for each camp. Now, if you want to get one of them, please do check the affiliate link below. You get a really good discount as well. It's worth checking out, and you get the phone app free for a year. On that note, actually, with apps, you can skip the book and go straight to the app. But for me, I prefer to get that broader view. I find flicking around and exploring on an app a little bit finicky. Now, you don't want to go too specific at this point. And what I mean by that is you don't want to just hone in on something like the parks website, because then you're not going to see all of the really good private campgrounds you're going to be missing out on. And on a similar note, you don't want to go straight for something like HipCamp, because you're not going to see all the free and public camps on there. Good old Google Maps is actually really good. You've already decided the rough area you want to go, so just zoom to that, type camping and press search. You'll get a few good options there. The only problem is further information tends to be a bit lacking. There won't always be information for whether pets are allowed, if there's any cost, what the facilities are. And sometimes a camp will just be downright illegal because people can kind of pop whatever they want on Google Maps. But you can usually tell pretty quick. The Camps app that comes free for a year with the book, that's really good because that shows both private and public campgrounds in the one app. Again though, like the book, it only applies to Australia. Next is Wikicamps. A lot of people will know this. It's available in Australia, the US, the UK, Canada and New Zealand. It costs you $10. It's a one-time purchase. You do still unfortunately get really tacky ads in there, but it is so worth it. The difference between Wikicamps and Camps Australia wide is that Wikicamps relies a bit more on user-generated content, whereas the Camps Australia wide app is verified by the team that runs it. So you'll sometimes run across the same problem you do with Google. There'll be a campsite that's not legitimate. For example, the Bibbulmun track huts in this area will be marked as campsites, which they are, but only for hikers. And then you might end up trying to get down a track that's not made for vehicles. And finally, not all private property camps will be found across Google Maps, Wikicamps or Camps Australia wide. You'll find a lot on HipCamp, so it's definitely worth having that app handy as well. Oh, this thing, really important, beware the offline login. I seem to have this problem with Wikicamps all the time, and I've had it with a few other apps on my phone. It seems to have some sort of a timeout and it will log you out. And if you're already off-grid, out of signal, you're stuffed. You can't use the app. Step 3, choose your camp. There's two ways you can go here, either booking or first in, best dressed. Booking gives you certainty. Make one choice and be done with it. If you're not booking, it's worth having an option B camp and an option C camp as well. Take note of whether there's water there, whether there's phone service, whether pets are allowed, the cost per night, what sort of equipment you're allowed to have, so whether you're allowed to use tents, camper vans, caravans, motorhomes, that sort of thing. Do you have to be self-contained? That's a pretty big one. If it says self-contained, you usually have to bring your own chemical toilet, and you quite often have to take your own grey water away as well. Now there's some specific considerations that need to be made. Of course, in summer you want to look for nice shaded campsites. You can sometimes get away with an awning like I've got here, or a tarp or a gazebo, but honestly, nothing keeps you cool like a shady tree. Think about wind as well. Often it will be worse at certain times of the year. If you're looking through one of the apps, make sure you check out the reviews. If there's any problem with wind or mosquitoes or anything else, usually someone will have written it in a review. But on that one, make sure you check the date the review was left. Bad mosquitoes 2 months ago doesn't necessarily mean they're bad now. One more thing on choosing your campground. If you're looking at a place that's a wide open space, especially if it's the weekend and especially if it's free, you've got to be wary of the party campers.
That mob, about 8 PM, the rev limiters started.
They go all night, they have a lot of fun, you maybe not so much. Now you're going to check your route there. What sort of roads are you going to be travelling on? Are they main roads? Are they a little bit sketchy but still tarmacked? Are they gravel, well-maintained gravel, or are they rough? Most cars can handle a gravel road easily. If it's full of potholes and nasty corrugations, then it starts getting tricky, and you do have to make sure you're confident driving on gravel. If the campground is four-wheel drive only, that will be clearly marked. Make sure if you have a four-wheel drive, you know how to use it. Again, just as with the bugs and the wind, you can find a lot of information about this in the reviews. And my last note on roads is check the proximity of the campsite to any major roads. There is some noisy campgrounds out there. Again, reviews will usually state whether it's noisy or not. It's time for step 4, planning your journey. This is super easy, but I want you to double check what this device tells you. Whether you've chosen your camp from Google Maps or Wikicamps or HipCamp or Camps Australia wide, as soon as you press that directions button, all of those apps are going to use Google Maps to direct you there. And Google Maps will usually tell you if there's any road closures as well. The next thing you need to do is make sure you save that map for offline, because signal in these areas can be patchy at best, non-existent at worst. Now double check what Google is telling you against your paper maps or your camps book or your map book. Google isn't always right, and I have seen signs out there in the field nailed to a tree or stuck to a street sign that says, "Google is wrong, turn back." Apparently, it's really hard to get Google to change something on Google Maps. For really remote journeys or where there's only one way there and back, check local road conditions. Doing this also tends to reveal interesting little things you might have missed that could be fun to check out on the way. Now, I don't want you getting into trouble out there, okay? So here's 4 things I want you to do before you head out. Number 1, tell someone exactly where you're going, and even send them that Google Maps route if you can. Number 2, always pack water, even if it says there's water at the campground. 10 litres at a minimum, that should do you for an overnight camp. Number 3, check the distance and know how far your car can go on a tank of fuel. Usually there will be a fuel stop along the way, but don't risk it. And number 4 is a couple of days out from your camp, check that weather again. If this is your first time or you're pretty new to camping, you're not going to have a lot of fun if you're trying to brave the rain or the heat. And plus, there's dangers like cyclones, there could be a cyclone warning, or bushfires. If there's a warning on either of those two, I'm not going to brave it. And that's it, your basic camping trip, all planned, you're set for success. If you've got any questions or comments, suggestions or tips, make sure you post them down below in the comments, and you may just be helping a fellow camper in the future.